Let's talk a little politics on this date of the State of the Union now. Less than 3 weeks to go before the first votes are cast in Iowa, and the presidential race is tightening up on both sides of the aisle. Polls from Investors Business Daily and NBC Wall Street Journal, both similar to what we've seen in the Fox News polls. Among New Hampshire voters, Senator Bernie Sanders leads with 50%, 13 points ahead of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump is out in front for the GOP in New Hampshire, with more than twice the support of his closest rival, Senator Marco Rubio. But in Iowa, it is much closer, with Senator Ted Cruz and Donald Trump locked in a statistical dead heat ahead of Senator Marco Rubio, with Dr. Ben Carson and Governor Jeb Bush rounding out the top 5 there. Joining us now, Pete Snyder, Fox News contributor, former Virginia Lieutenant Governor candidate, and Jessica Tarlov, Democratic pollster and Democratic pollster and you're not old enough to be former anything.
Well, thank you for that. That started off way on the right foot.
Stone Consulting. Jessica, let me start with you because these Democratic numbers are interesting. Do you see any possibility that Hillary Clinton could wind up losing both New Hampshire and Iowa?
I think there is a possibility. As you mentioned, they're basically Bernie Sanders has made up a lot of ground in Iowa. I think the Real Clear Politics average still has her about 10 ahead, actually. But Bernie Sanders within 3, that's a statistical tie in the latest polls from this week. He's building his ground game. He is surging. I think it's fair to say that. And I could see a scenario in which she does lose Iowa and New Hampshire, but I still think that she goes on to win. She's much stronger in a South Carolina, for instance. But I think actually, at the end of the day, this is a good thing for Hillary Clinton to be pushed like this. Bernie Sanders, he's a great guy. He's authentic and genuine. He has a real message that he's trying to get out there about income inequality, and it is resonating with voters. People wanted a healthy Democrat competition. I did, and we're going to get it. But I still think Hillary comes out on top.
All right. Speaking of competition, Pete, you know, most of the pundits out there say this Republican field is a mess. There's all this turmoil, and yet the Democrats don't necessarily seem to have things settled themselves.
Well, John, I think you nailed it down. You know, all you hear from the mainstream media and the liberals out there of the chaos in the Republican primary. If that's the case, why is every single one of our major candidates beating Hillary Clinton or, worst case, tied with her? It's because she's, as Jessica said, an inauthentic candidate. Sanders is authentic. Our folks are bringing real solutions to the table. And the country, and especially the Democrats, are just sick and tired of the Clintons. They want to turn the page. They want to move on.
Well, can I just say, Jessica did not say that Hillary Clinton was inauthentic.
I'm sorry, it was
Jessica said
implied,
that Bernie
Jessica.
Sanders was genuine. Jessica does not believe that about Hillary Clinton.
Forgive me, I was quoting Joe Biden. That's right. He is revving up that Corvette. And trust me, if Hillary drops Iowa and New Hampshire, you're going to see Joe Biden mobilize. You're going to see Elizabeth Warren mobilize. I don't agree with Jessica. I don't think Hillary Clinton will win the nomination if she loses those first 2.
Let's take a look at what the voters are saying. Doesn't matter what you two say at this moment in time. But let's take a look at the possible 2016 matchups. According to the latest Fox News poll, Marco Rubio actually trounces Hillary Clinton 50 to 41%. Ted Cruz beats her 50 to 43. These were the numbers that you were alluding to earlier. Donald Trump comes in 47-44 over Mrs. Clinton, although that is inside the margin of error. And Jeb Bush ties Hillary Clinton at 44-44. Now, I don't know, Jessica, do those numbers worry you as the Democratic representative on this panel?
Well, they're a little worrying. Obviously, you would prefer it if your candidate was trouncing everybody else. But I think the Marco Rubio point is really important, and I've been saying for months that I think that he is the GOP's strongest chance. If you were watching this weekend the Kemp Forum on Poverty, where incidentally Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, the frontrunners, did not bother to show up, you saw Marco Rubio as a real champion of conservative principles. He was talking about, you know, the need for more training, how to provide more opportunity, to also move the welfare system to more of a states issue. And I think that those are the ideas that are ultimately going to resonate with conservative voters. Fundamentally, Donald Trump isn't a conservative. Ted Cruz, he is. There's also a really interesting piece from David Brooks about how Ted Cruz won't end up appealing to evangelical voters. I'm not sure if that's true, but I think that Marco Rubio is the one to watch. And if he picks up a woman governor as his VP, I think it's an incredibly strong ticket. Let's
take a look, though, at one other item in the Fox News poll. We don't have this on the screen, but this caught my eye, Pete. 48% of GOP voters think that Donald Trump would be the best at undoing or reversing many of Barack Obama's policies. Does that explain much of the Trump appeal in the GOP world?
Well, I think it explains a lot of the Trump appeal. I think it also explains a lot of the Cruz appeal. The Republican electorate right now has really believed that the last 7 years have been a total abomination. And if you look at how we keep score and our reputation in the world and what our economy's been up to, where that's going, our foreign policy, they're right. It's been a complete and utter disaster. So Donald Trump is very strong on that. So is Marco Rubio, and so is Ted Cruz. I really look at those three. That's one of those is going to be our nominee.
Pete Snyder, Jessica Tarloff, thank you both.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.